Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello to my 1,732 YouTube channel subscribers. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Sunday. I'm just getting out of church, walking home. What a beautiful day it is. Perfect weather, not a cloud in the sky. About 70 degrees Fahrenheit. What a beautiful morning. Had a very wonderful church service. Just get out of church. And it was about insecurities and being full with God. And what a powerful service it was. Really felt it like I do every Sunday. And what a blessing. And so today's walk and talk as I walk home from church, I'm going to be discussing why do I believe in God and why do I have faith in the Bible. And so let's go back to my birth and my childhood. And well, I was adopted, and so, my adopted family at 9 months old, I'm not for sure about my biological parents, what their beliefs were, and what their faith was. However, in the household I grew up in since 9 months old, my mom and father both was believers in God, and they had a clock in the dining room that had the clock had God on it. Now, my parents used to go to church. They used to go to Calvary Temple Church, and one of my sisters was she was a very popular Christian singer back in the 1970s and the 1980s. And however, one of my older brothers got into a car accident and was paralyzed in the I believe it was 1974, and I was born in 1976. And so my parents had to spend a lot of time taking care of my brother who was paralyzed and in a wheelchair. And they stopped going to church, but they never lost their belief. However, so I didn't grow up going to church, but I did grow up with parents who was believers in God, and they tried to live a righteous, godly life, even though we all fall short, right? And so that was my early childhood years with God, was not going to church. The first time I went to church, I believe I was about 10 years old, was the first time I went to a church, and it was with my neighborhood friends, the Hicks family, and their dad would not let me stay the night unless I went to church. And so I would end up going to church with them, and I would fall asleep during the service as a kid. I don't know, it just put me right to sleep because I was a hyperactive kid and I didn't sit still. So when I went to church with my neighborhood friends family between the age of 10, 11, 12, or so, 13, 14, I would say, every time I went with them, I would fall asleep. However, one evening, they took me to the Calvary Temple Church, and I would say about 10 years old. So this was about 1986, and they had this play about the God and the devil. And this is when I first became a believer, when I was 10 years old, a true believer, even though I believed in God from the day I was born. Okay, but they did this play at the church one evening about God and the devil and about heaven and hell. And they showed this one parent who believed in God and lived by the Ten Commandments. And when they died in a sudden car accident. And it was the mother, the father, and the child. He was in a tragic car accident. And the mother went to heaven, the father went to hell, and the child went to heaven as well. And so he was separated from his family because the father did not believe in God. He had no faith, and he did evil deeds, and he didn't live by the Ten Commandments. And so, and I watched that play, and I would say it kind of traumatized me to believe in God, even though I believed in God before that. But I was like, ever since I was 10 years old, I was like, I want to follow the Ten Commandments, and I want to go to heaven. And so then after I was 10, 10, 11, 12, I also went to a church camp and everything like that. So I'd say I had faith in God, even though I was a sinner as a child. And, and then I was actually a juvenile delinquent as well. And after my mom and dad got a divorce when I was 8 years old, and my mom worked 3 to 11, and so I was in the household by myself, and so I just pretty much did whatever I wanted to do since I was about 8 years old, and that ended up me getting in a lot of trouble as a teenager. Okay, so then I hit puberty, 13, 14, 15, 16, a pretty good kid, but then I really started getting in trouble around about 17 years old, 18, and that'll lead me to 19 years old, where I got myself into a really bad situation when I was 19, and then this is about my faith, and I got to a situation, and I got on my hands and knees, and I prayed with all my heart as a believer, and I asked God to make a way when there was no way, and God answered my prayers directly. And I was like, wow, I can't believe God really answered my prayers. And what I prayed for, it was impossible for it to happen. It wasn't even a possibility. However, these older people that I was around, they would tell me over and over, God will put more on your plate than you can handle. And so I kept thinking about that, and I was like, God, I can't handle this. What I'm facing, what I'm up against, I just can't handle that, God. I'm not strong enough. And so God gave me exactly what I asked for when there was no possibility of that happening. And so that reaffirmed me of God. Ever since then, that's my testimony. That experience at 19 years old, when I prayed for that and God answered, I said, okay, there definitely is a God. That is 100% true. Even though I've always had faith since I was born, I was like, God moves in mysterious ways. So then I went on to my early 20s and still a believer of God, but not really. I think because it's a different type of believers, right? So you got what like me, I've been a believer all my life, but half of my life, I didn't repent for my sins. I didn't turn away from sins. I didn't try to follow the 10 Commandments to the best of my abilities. And when I broke a sin, when I committed a sin, I did ask for forgiveness and try to turn away from sin. That was half of my life. However, where I'm at now in life and where I've been at half of my life is I've been a believer and I've been a person that tries to live by the 10 Commandments. And whenever I commit a sin, I feel really bad. And then I pray for forgiveness for that sin. And then I try to turn away from sin. And I try to live a sinless life. So that's the difference between a believer and a person who's living for God. Because you could be a believer, and like Tupac said, a lot of people who think they're going to heaven ain't going. It's because you could believe in God, you can have faith in God, but if you're not living for God, if you're committing bad, evil deeds, and you die and go to heaven, even though you believe in God, you're not, I'm not here to judge, but according to the Bible, any person who dies, when I die, you die. The book of the judgment will be passed. Book of deeds will be opened as soon as you die, and they'll review everything that you did in your life and every single thought that you had in your brain and every action that you did from the time you was born to the time you would die. And that determines if you're going to heaven or not. Just having faith is not going to get you there, according to the Bible. Okay, so that goes on. So we talked about when I was 19. And then so when I was in my 20s, how I was a believer in God, but I wasn't repenting for my sins. I wasn't turned away from sin, even though I always, my whole life, tried to be the best person I could be. But I wasn't feeling guilty for committing sins. And I wasn't turning away from sin, okay? And so that would lead me into my early 20s, and that was my 30s, and that was my 40s. And then, however, about 7 years ago, so I would say because I'm going to be 49 in a few days. So I would say about 42 years old, I started going to this new church that I'm going to now. And beautiful scenery here on this walk home. So I started going to this new church now. And even though I've been going to different churches all my life, I really felt God's presence in this church. And it really changed me going every Sunday and listening to the message and listening to God's words. And it really just made me just turn away from sin. And so I became a different person. And not only am I a believer of God, but I'm also I also try to live by the 10 Commandments. And so that's just a huge difference. And also, I would say, I would like to add also in my middle 20s, I would say about 25 to 26 years old, I read the whole Bible from Genesis to Revelations, and then that changed my life. So reading the Bible was a big difference. And reading the Bible is how you could go from being a believer in God to living for God, for God's words. So reading the Bible was definitely fundamental for me transitioning for somebody who was born the day I was born believing in God to a person who lives for God. The transformation started when I read the whole Bible and I prayed for strength, wisdom, and knowledge to read the Bible, understand the Bible, and live the way the Bible teaches me. I've been praying that prayer for over 20 years. And so that really helped me. Reading the Bible and then going to church every Sunday also helped me from going from a person who believes in God to a person who lives for God. And so, and then also I would like to talk about the Bible, how I have faith in every single thing in the Bible is true. And here's a few things I will say. One, it's been millions, if not billions of people who spent years, hours, lifetimes trying to prove one sentence in the Bible is not true. There has not been proven one sentence in the Bible is untrue. And there's been millions of people who's tried and nobody has succeeded because every single word in the Bible is true. Every sentence is true. There is nothing untrue in the Bible. If there was one sentence wrong in the Bible, it would be all over the internet. It would be all over the news. The Bible was wrong. There has nothing been proven wrong about the Bible. So that's that. And for two, I would like to say that I got a minor from going to college in history. And I've studied history more than anything else. I got a minor in history, a minor in psychology, and I was a computer science major. So I studied history from the beginning of history, the cradle of civilization. I studied anthropology. I studied the human bones from the Anthropicus, the first human remains ever found, and human migration. And I studied every little bit about human history, and I believed in evolution because we was pretty much brainwashed as kindergarten to believe in evolution. However, in the last 5 years, I totally changed my mind on evolution. And now I'm a true believer in God created us just like the Bible says. And if you just stop and think about it for a few minutes, you will understand that humans was created. There's no way we evolved. And there's certain things that just take logic and common sense if you just have an open mind to think for just a few minutes. Lots of butterflies, guys. Look at all the butterflies. So think about human creation versus human migration just for a few minutes, right? You well, hopefully you will come to the conclusion that I came with is that the conclusion I come with is about human evolution. Okay, so if humans evolved like they say over millions of years, how come it was just 5,000 years ago? There's no written word past 5,000 years ago. There was no human cities past 5,000 years ago. And how come all the pyramids in the history of the earth that was built on every single continent happened 5,000 years ago? Within just a short period of time, it was pyramids built in the Middle East, in Africa, in Egypt, in South America, in Antarctica, Alaska, Central America, and all the pyramids was built at the same time. And how did that happen? Only from a short period of time. It never happened. The pyramids wasn't built earlier. The pyramids wasn't built later. They was only built all around the planet Earth in a very short period of time. So how does that happen with evolution when there was no communication amongst people? Like there wasn't communication between Egypt and South America, Middle America, Antarctica. They just send emails to each other and say, hey, let's all build pyramids. So that's why I believe there's a higher power. That's why I believe in I don't believe in evolution, because that don't make any kind of sense that all of a sudden humans just started writing words, and millions of years before that, they never wrote words. Then human beings just all of a sudden started building pyramids, and there was never no pyramids built before that, and there was no pyramids built after that, and they built them all around the globe at the same time. So that's why I believe in human creation, and I don't believe in human evolution. And I studied human evolution. I took college courses on human evolution and the human history, and it just don't make sense. But now, if you go off the Bible tells you that they try to build a tower of Babylon to touch the heavens, and then in the Bible they say humans were scattered all over the earth, and I believe that to be true. I believe humans was in all the different languages. They said they changed all their different languages. In the Bible it says they changed all their different languages, and God took all the humans and spread them throughout the earth. And I think that I take that as a literal. I think everything in the Bible is 100% true, and I take it literally. And so, and it makes perfect sense. If you study history and you study the Bible, you will start to understand that the Bible is a historically, factually true. And if you have an open mind to believe and have faith in the Bible and what the Bible is saying, you will see that it's true. And so humans was taken from Egypt, South America, Antarctica. We were spread all over the world. We had our languages changed, and they also, and when the humans was spread throughout the earth, they started building pyramids. That's my theory. That's what I come up with. And but it doesn't make any sense. If you believe in evolution, if you don't believe in humans was created, then why did humans start? How come humans never wrote anything until 5,000 years ago? There's no recorded history. And what made us start writing things down all of a sudden? That makes no sense whatsoever. And then how come pyramids was built all around the world, just within like 100 or so years apart? And then no pyramids was built earlier, and no pyramids was built afterwards. Okay, so that's why evolution, I don't believe in that. I believe humans was created just like the Bible says. I believe the humans started building a tower of Babylon, the big tower that was trying to go to the heavens. And then God said, you know what? I'm gonna take all these human beings and I'm gonna change their language, and I'm gonna ship them all over the world. And then people went all over the world and started building pyramids. And so that is my belief on human evolution, the Bible being true, the reason why I believe in God, why do I believe every single word of the Bible is 100% correct. And so, and there has not been one sentence proven wrong in the Bible. If there was anything wrong in the Bible, the devil would smear that all over the world. You would hear about that on CNN every day on the news. The Bible was wrong. The Bible was wrong. It'd be all over the internet. This one sentence of the Bible was wrong. However, they have not been able to prove one sentence of the Bible to be wrong. It's 100% accurate. It's 100% literal. But that's why walk and talk about the Bible and God and my experiences. And but hope you guys have a nice day. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, share, comment. God bless everybody. Hope you have a nice day, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.